Sega.
During the 1980s, games companies had no problem in copying ideas from famous movies. In Alien Syndrome, you are tasked with rescuing humans from various spaceships and bases that have been overrun with aliens. All before the timer runs out and the entire location explodes. Nuked from orbit, you could say. I've got no idea what movie this might be based on. First, we'll take a look at the arcade original, which released on Sega's System 16A and B hardware in 1987. This I'm running in MAME. Then we'll check out how the 1989 PC-DOS port fared. They had a couple of years to make it, so presumably it's okay? I'm using DOSBox to run this. The original arcade version was released in this fairly funky looking cabinet, with a big alien head on the top. This landed in arcades in 1987 and used Sega's System 16 hardware. The game begins with the title appearing, before a rolling demo, featuring the two lead characters called Ricky and Mary. They're shown blasting all manner of aliens across parts of the first 3 levels of the game. This also shows how the game is likely a bit easier in 2-player mode. After the demo, the high scores are displayed, and then the title reappears. Interestingly, or maybe not, there are 4 variants of the title screen, with different elements of scenery behind each of them. When you start the game, you choose your character, get a quick briefing, and then the upcoming round locations are shown.
The time bomb is set.
Thank you, helpful disembodied voice. You then proceed to leg it around the level, collecting 10 comrades and splatting alien worms. As you wander around, there are various map screens that show you where to find people, along with weapon upgrade pods, and you can also pick up 1 or 2 mini robots to help you on your quest. Each round has an end-of-level boss. These look pretty freaky, like this first one, a combination of head/brain and small mini green dude. And obviously I die here because I'm rubbish at this game. Never mind, there's a free play dip switch, so I can play with infinite lives. Let's pretend that dying didn't happen. After you zap the brain thing enough times, it explodes, flinging the small dude at you. Then the freaky face keeps biting you. The endless lives are helping here.
Round 2. The time bomb is set.
Round 2 is set on this semi-transparent floor, with more conventional aliens instead of worms. The end-of-level boss in this round is this thing. A collection of blobby shapes and mini blobby shapes. Again, I die a lot. At least when you kill this one it dies, and doesn't throw its face at you. Round 3 is much more of a maze-like layout, with floating platforms and alien-style floors. It's nice how each level mixes up things with completely different alien types. Here we have weird alien frogs. Unfortunately, as this level is so maze-like, and despite me having endless lives, the time limit is the time limit, and should it run out, bad things happen. I even try in vain to jump over a gap, but there's no jump key.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
And that's game over. Now, here's a minute of gameplay without me talking over it, so you can enjoy the uniquely weird music and sound effects.
Round 1. The time bomb is set.
The PC-DOS version released initially in 1989 on both 5.25-inch and later 3.5-inch floppy disk. This version begins with a surprise sampled sound. Before it races past an intro screen, and then the logo appears, similar to the arcade but with some awful droning music. After this, the details of the developers are shown, and then the high score table appears. Good names. This then loops, with no intro demo to draw you in. First impressions are a bit meh. Here's the missing startup screen that flashes by even on a slow PC. It's artwork from the original Sega arcade flyer, which is nice to see. When you start the game, like the arcade, you choose a character, read the brief, almost see the rounds, and then the game begins. Now I should explain the frame rate here. The game runs at an unlocked frame rate, meaning if you had a slow computer it would be playable, and if you had a fast one it runs unplayably quickly. Most videos of the PC version online run much quicker than they should. You can tell by the timer countdown in the bottom corner. I tried to make it count down in seconds, similar to the Amiga and Atari ST versions, which this DOS port resembles. However, it means it runs particularly choppy, animation-wise. The sound and music are pretty terrible here, and the number of enemies are heavily cut back, as the frame rate gets even worse with a lot going on screen. Eventually you meet the first boss. Here it tries to play music at the same time, and the frame rate goes through the floor. Much like the PC-DOS port of Space Harrier, full credit to the developers for trying to include all the content of the arcade, but sometimes it's just a bit too much. Like the arcade, the head eventually attacks you. Once you've destroyed it, you can move on to round 2. Again, the graphics have taken a hit here, and the number of enemies is particularly cut back. But that's nothing compared to the round 2 boss, who struggles to animate, even though the timer is sometimes counting down faster than whole seconds. And eventually, I get killed. Try to enjoy a minute of this version. It's time to compare screenshots at the pixel level. Here's the arcade title screen. Let's wipe across to the PC version and you'll see it's a much more muted affair colour-wise. This is the start of round 1 on the arcade. And here's the PC version, which feels much more compressed in scale, which it probably is. Finally, here's the round 1 boss in the arcade. Notice how I have 2 helper robots with me. And here's the detailed yet rather jerky PC version, which can only cope with animating 1 robot friend. Let's put the two versions head to head. We'll just look at the first two rounds here and their bosses, given I never got past the round 2 boss on the DOS version.
The time bomb is set.
The original arcade version of Alien Syndrome can be a fun, yet tough game. It's probably better with 2 players. The PC DOS port struggles badly, or runs at lightning pace if you have a fast machine. Either way, it's much less playable than the arcade original version, which I'd recommend over the DOS port, if you like this sort of a game. And speaking of liking, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Or subscribe, ring the bell, collect 10 comrades and then shoot a weird alien space brain. And join me next time for a turbo boost or 2.